Hello. Thank you, Miles, for conducting this interview with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's actually great to see you as a being a blog producer.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, you just started Aurora BP like last week, right?
Yep, this past Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I'm Miles Snyder. I'm the CEO of Aurora EOS. We're a newly announced block producer. We actually just launched this past Tuesday.
Yeah. So tell us more about your background and like what's the advantage that Aurora block producer has that not other block producer has.
Yeah, definitely. So I got into crypto in 2014 when I was studying abroad in Argentina. First got into Bitcoin, and then the next project that I became really interested in was BitShares, which was Dan Larimer's first project. I was really interested in stable coins. So I've been following Dan and through BitShares and Steam and later EOS, and became really familiar with delegated proof of stake and with that whole tech stack. I joined a company called Multicoin Capital, which is a crypto hedge fund, as their first employee. And for a little over a year prior to this, I was working at Multicoin Capital, leading research there. So I was spending a lot of time doing research on all sorts of different projects in the crypto space, one of which was EOS. But I started really diving deep on EOS and learning more about it. And we published some really in-depth research about delegated proof of stake. We published a big EOS research report. We published some content about the trade-off set that EOS makes. So I became really interested in EOS, and I wanted to find a way that I could focus exclusively on EOS and dedicate more time to this project specifically. And eventually I realized that becoming a block producer was kind of the way to do that. So we decided to do that, and that's sort of the genesis of Aurora. In terms of what we're focusing on, I kind of want to take the research expertise that I developed at EOS and apply that that I developed at Multicoin Capital,
yeah.
and apply that to EOS specifically. So we're going to be conducting really in-depth research like I was doing over at Multicoin Capital, but focus specifically on some of the major issues facing EOS. So I think in the near term we're talking about constitution, worker proposal system, voter participation, resource exchange, proxies, how do we get EOS feature complete? So multi-threading, inter-blockchain communication, all sorts of things like that. And I think the reason we want to focus on that is because EOS has on-chain governance. So voters can actually influence the direction of the protocol. So it's really important that they can make informed decisions about some of these changes to the network, and the way we do that is through education. So that's sort of one part of what we're doing, and then the other part is leveraging some of the investment expertise that I built up at Multicoin Capital to identify the really promising projects on EOS and connect them to capital allocators. So we've got really good relationships with some of the biggest capital allocators, whether those are individuals or funds, who are looking to invest in promising EOS projects. And I think we've got a really good sense of what EOS needs and what projects make the most sense on the platform. And so that's what we're going to be looking for.
Nice. Actually, I remember first contacting you. I mean, you're the one who contacted us. But when we were preparing for the mainnet launch, I was looking for the the documentation or the research papers that I could share it with the Korean community. And when I saw your documentation on analytic review on the EOS, I was like, wow, this is like really well written stuff.
Well,
And
thank you.
I was really excited to like share this with the Korean community. And like,
Well, I was really excited when you translated it into Korean.
yeah, I was translating it, but like the one who actually finished the translating was the actual like Korean community.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah. So
Well,
basically,
thank you to the Korean community for doing that.
yeah. So basically, Korean community really appreciate you doing those kind of research.
Yeah, that makes me really happy. I mean, I think that there was a lot of, at least in the Western community, there was a lot of confusion about EOS. A lot of people sort of didn't see through the year-long ICO, and they kind of wrote it off because of that, or maybe there was misinformation. But there was a lot of people who didn't understand the software, or specifically the features that make EOS so interesting. So we really wanted to highlight those and sort of make the case for why EOS is such a great platform as we know it to be.
Yeah. So I'm really excited that you're part of like block producers now.
I'm really
Because,
excited too.
because we need people like you more. Like there has to be more educational stuff going on
Yep.
as a contents like research that actually the community can actually understand more better about the EOS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's not just about the community, because obviously we want EOS token holders to be able to make good decisions about things that require their input in the form of voting, whether that's just voting for block producers or eventually in referendum.
Yeah.
But I think the other side of education is we want to reach all of the developers and enterprises who haven't gotten onboarded into EOS yet, because there's a lot of people out there who don't know why EOS is a great platform for them, and they don't know about the features that make it so interesting.
Yeah.
And so we want to sort of get that knowledge in their hands so they can say, okay, if you have an enterprise that's thinking about building on a blockchain and they're considering, Ethereum, Dfinity, Hashgraph, and EOS, we want them to know why they should be choosing EOS, because there's a lot of features there that make EOS really, really unique.
I actually fully understand what you're talking about, because I've been helping with some of the Korean DApps, connecting with a top 10 blockchain capital.
Yep.
And what they were saying is like, game in blockchain would never work.
Yeah.
But it's the EOS DApp we're talking about, and
I think people are sort of extrapolating based on what they've seen historically with dApps. Yeah. And so far, that's really been on Ethereum. So the user experience it's really slow, really low latency, really low throughput, and really high fees. So people are saying, well, dApps can never work like that.
Yeah.
But with EOS, we're talking about high throughput, low latency, no individual transaction fees, plus human readable account names, a really cool permission system. So I think that there's a lot of features there that are going to be much different. And as we've seen, because you've probably played around with some of the existing dApps, the user experience is amazing. I mean, it's as close to you as you can get to mimicking the experience of a centralized app, but also having this fully decentralized backend. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So user experience is not feeling like using the blockchain.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's really amazing, and we need to let this know on a traditional. I mean, it's really hard to say even traditional blockchain capital, because they only have 3 or 4 years of experience.
The most experienced ones have 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So and they do not know about EOS. So people like you who have the background on the multi-coin capital, I'm pretty sure you'll be more conversational wise or persuasive wise, that will be talking with this blockchain capitals to really understand what's the advantage of the EOS.
Yeah, and I think that we have really good relationships with a lot of funds, and we've certainly spoken to them about EOS, and we want to continue to do so, because I think EOS is a proof of stake system. It's a delegated proof of stake system, but it is a proof of stake system. So the participants with big stake are going to be the ones who have the most decision-making power. And, funds, just by virtue of the amount of capital that they can deploy, are going to end up being some of the largest stakeholders in the ecosystem. And so I think it's important to not only try to get those funds onboarded, but also to give them the tools that they need to actually participate in voting and actually participate in an informed way. Because if you're a large fund that's got a really big stake and you can influence governance in a significant way, you want to make sure that they're actually voting for block producers, they're actually participating in the referendums, and crypto funds they make sense as ecosystem participants, because they are professional investors who are actually paying attention to these protocols, and they want to protect their investments. So they're going to make sure to make governance decisions that they think steer their network in the right direction.
Yeah, makes sense. One thing that I'm a little bit curious is that right now it's been almost 4 months that mainnet has launched. So what's your strategy here? You're a late starter, so there are lots of block producers, even around 400. So they've been promoting themselves really hard. So now you just started within a week. So
yeah, I think we're actually we're one of the first block producers to launch after mainnet launch. And that's obviously a very different experience. You're kind of starting from scratch. A lot of the block producers who were around before the mainnet launch were able to really build up a lot of community support as a result of their participation in that launch. And props to all those great block producers that helped with that. Now, there are hundreds of block producers. I think if you look at the list, once you get past 200 or something, they don't even have real named accounts and stuff. And I don't know if they're actually really trying to make a play here. But I think that one, there's still room for high quality block producers to enter the mix. And two, I think it's important to, we kind of want to show to the EOS community that it is possible for a new block producer to come on board and actually be competitive. Because I think what that shows is that DPoS isn't sort of this fixed set of validators. It's not that there's just these incumbents who can't be moved. I think we want to prove that a new player can come into the game and be competitive, and that keeps the existing block producers, kind of keeps them on their toes and prevents them from becoming sort of complacent. And I think that kind of helps the incentive structure.
Yeah.
And I guess finally what I'd say is that I think that we have value to offer in these specific areas that I talked to you about before, which is like research, education, market development, capital allocation. And that's a pretty, those are some pretty specific areas where we can, I think, add a lot of value. And I think we can prove to the EOS community that we're worth voting for because of that. I think that at scale, you're going to have all these different block producers that come to sort of specialize in different areas. So we've got block producers that are really, really technical and are building tools for the community or building wallets. We've got block producers who are sort of specializing in security or in sort of network optimizations. We've got block producers who are specializing in actually building dApps. And we kind of have a specialty where we haven't seen a lot of block producers focus their efforts entirely, and I think that's where we can sort of have an advantage and remain competitive.
Yeah, making the harmony.
Yes, exactly. Because I think the network as a whole benefits a lot when you've got block producers doing a lot of different things. You don't want 50 block producers who are all
doing the
building.
Same thing,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as a fellow block producer, I really welcome you.
Thank you so much.
Competition with us.
You. Yeah,
and welcome to the suffering world of a block producer.
No, the response from the block producer community and from the EOS community as a whole has been very welcoming. So we're super excited to be here. We're super excited to put out a lot of stuff that adds value to the community, and we're excited to be in co-opetition with you and the other block producers.
Nice. Well, actually, when we were meeting yesterday, you were mentioning that you're going to make the research and make that translation right away and distribute it in Korean community or Chinese community and all other communities.
Yep.
I'm actually really excited to see that. So
yeah. So if you go to our website right now, the website is in English and Chinese. The website has been translated into Korean. We're just finishing actually putting that on the back end. That'll go live next week, and then we'll be following up with Spanish and Japanese for everything, and that includes all the content that we're going to put out going forward. So everything is going to automatically get translated into all of those languages, and then we're going to share it on the channels in those different communities, because EOS is a global community. It doesn't make sense to just put everything out in English, because there's huge communities in China, huge communities in Korea, all throughout South America. Japan. I mean, it's really a global phenomenon, so we want to try to reach as many people as possible, and certainly we understand that there's voters and investors and developers and proxies that exist in all of those areas, so we want to make sure that they can get that content as well.
Nice. Thank you.
You're
You're actually making our work easier.
Good.
And lastly, do you have any other things that you want to say to EOS community? Like, this is your debut.
Well, first and foremost, thank you to the EOS community for the warm welcome that we received when we announced our candidacy. You can follow us on Twitter at Aurora EOS BP. You can check out our website, auroraeos.com. And if you'd like to cast votes, the name of our node is Aurora EOS.com. But please subscribe to our blog for more frequent research and articles. We'll be putting out some podcasts and some videos as well. And then finally, if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, we're going to be releasing a weekly update that's sort of an overview of everything that's happening in the EOS ecosystem. We just put out the first edition yesterday, and we'll be following that up every Sunday with a nice overview of everything that's happening. So hopefully help people stay more up to date on the EOS progress.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, please give big support to Aurora EOS, as they're the late starter, and I think they're going to contribute as much as other block producers has been doing. So give applause to Aurora EOS.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I think this is it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
That was great.
Thank Peter for this opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you.